All right, chapter 4, but first let's recap what happened in chapter 3. So last chapter, Josh, Dink, Ruth Rose went with Uncle Warren to get Chinese food. They met Uncle Warren's doorman, Roger. So they got totally stuffed when they went to Chinese food, and they ate their fortune cookies at home. They all had pretty good fortune cookies, but Dinks said that something, let's see, your eyes will play tricks on you. So that could be a clue. Let's see. So then after that, they went back to the museum with Uncle Warren. And when they got there, they met James, Uncle Warren's assistant. And he said that he had work to do. So he went off and went into his office to do work. Next, they met Dr. Jeremy Pitts, who was there to inspect all of the stuff that came for the museum. And when he was inspecting the Jaguar, he saw that the jade, the jewel, was not real. It was a fake. All right. So that's going to be our big mystery, we know. And we have to read to find out what happened. Who did it? Chapter 4. What do you mean? Dink's uncle asked. I don't see how it could be fake. Dr. Pitts rested a finger on the jewel. This is not the original emerald, he explained. In fact, it is not an emerald at all. But how could that be? Dink's uncle cried. Look, I will show you, Dr. Pitts said. He took a small flashlight from his pocket. I think I called it a jade stone, but it's emerald. Okay. Sorry. He took a small flashlight from his pocket. Will you please pull the shades and turn off the lights? He asked. Dink was closest to the window, so he pulled the shades down and clicked off the light over the fish tank. Josh hurried over to the switches on the wall. When the room was dark, Dr. Pitts turned on his flashlight and shone the beam on the jewel. Suddenly, the flashlight went out. Dink heard something hit the desktop, then roll off and make a soft thud on the carpet. Sorry, Dr. Pitts muttered. I seem to have dropped my flashlight. Can someone please? I'll get it, Josh said in the dark. He knelt down and fumbled around under the desk. Found it, he said a moment later. He stood, switched it on, and aimed the light at the desk. Thank you, young man, Dr. Pitts said. He took the flashlight and pointed it at the jewel once more. You see, if it were a real emerald, the light would penetrate, he explained. The light beam would go to the heart of the jewel. So penetrate, if you don't know what that word means, you can see it, that he explains it. The light beam would go to the heart of the jewel. So you could see that penetrate means when something goes through something. He tapped a finger against the jewel. But this is just glass. Notice how the light bounces off the surface. The light does not enter the stone. He shone the light on his own face. Of course, that is just my opinion. You are welcome to get another, Mr. Duncan. I certainly will, Dink's uncle said. He walked over to the wall and switched on the lights. Dink blinked at the sudden brightness. His uncle looked very upset. But I simply can't understand how the real emerald could have been switched for a fake one, Dink's uncle continued. Are you absolutely sure? Dr. Pitts nodded. Unfortunately, yes, I am sure. Then the swap must have taken place before the crate arrived, Uncle Warren declared. Perhaps it happened in South America when the Jaguar was wrapped. Dr. Pitts shook his head. I'm sorry, but I was there for the packing. I assure you, when the Jaguar was put into this crate, the emerald was real. Dink's uncle stared at the Jaguar. I just don't see how it was possible, he repeated. Dr. Pitts shrugged. Of course, I will have to report this to the police, he said, if you want that second opinion. Dink's uncle hurried across the room and opened the door to James Pride's office. James, please call Empire Jewelry on Broadway. Ask Regina Wu to come immediately. Tell her it's urgent. While they waited, Dr. Pitts examined the lock on the office door, then wrote something on a small pad. Uncle Warren slumped in his chair and stared at the statue. The kid sat on the rug and waited. Dink wanted to say something to his uncle, but he looked too upset. Long minutes passed, then a knock sounded at the door. Uncle Warren jumped up. He let in a tall woman wearing a black raincoat. "Warren, I came as fast as I could," she said. "The streets are a mess." They shook hands, and Dink's uncle explained about the Jaguar's jewel. "Dr. Pitts claims it's a fake." "May I?" Using a jeweler's magnifying glass, Miss Wu examined the stone for a few minutes. Then she removed a small bottle from her pocket and squeezed a drop of liquid onto the jewel. When the liquid dried, she wiped the stone with a cloth. She shook her head. "He's right," she said. "This is a glass replica." Uncle Warren fell back into his chair. "I am simply dumbfounded. Where did the switch take place? How? Who could possibly—" "Pardon me," Dr. Pitts said. "The lock on the door does not appear to have been forced. Who besides you has a key to this office?" "Mr. James Pride, my assistant, for one," Dink's uncle said. "And my friend Jean-Paul. He owns the restaurant next door to the museum. He let the delivery men into my office yesterday." "So this Jean-Paul has a key?" Dr. Pitts asked. Uncle Warren shook his head. "Not to keep. I lent him my key since the crate was due while James and I were away from the museum." "So, two people besides yourself had access to the Jaguar, is that right?" Dr. Pitts asked. "Your assistant and your friend?" "That is correct. But I assure you, neither of them has touched that statue. The idea is absurd." Excuse me, Uncle Warren," Dink said. Everyone turned to look at Dink. "Wouldn't there be fingerprints? I mean, if someone did take the real jewel, they'd leave prints on the fake one, right?" No one spoke for a minute. Then Dr. Pitts smiled at Dink. "That's an excellent idea," he said, "and I think we should ask the police to look for fingerprints. They will, of course, find mine, but unless I miss my guess, no others." "Why do you say that?" Ruth Rose asked. "Because, young lady," Dr. Pitts said, "this thief was very clever, and clever thieves wear gloves." Uncle Warren nodded at the phone. "Please call the police," he told Dr. Pitts. "They will prove that Jean-Paul and James are innocent." Dr. Pitts looked at Dink's uncle. "Excuse me, sir, but there is another suspect." "And who would that be?" Uncle Warren asked. "Yourself," Dr. Pitts said quietly. "Ooh. How are you feeling? How do you feel about Dr. Pitts, Uncle Warren? You have any suspicions? I wonder. I know I have some."